Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 146, recording on Sunday, April 16th, 2023. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And today we'll be talking about the state of play on Final Fantasy XVI, which aired this previous Thursday. And we're going to do a reaction video again. It seemed to do pretty well. People liked it. We'll see how this one goes. But before we do that, very quickly, of course, happy birthday, Huck City. It is your actual birthday right now.
It is. Correct.
You're in the midst.
For the next hour and a half.
Got your beverage there, ready to go.
I do indeed. Yes, I do.
All
Perfect.
Right. You love Final Fantasy? This is for you.
Made
We're doing
for
this
me.
for your birthday.
I called up Sony. I was like, hey, I want a little special treat, and they delivered.
Exactly. And I think it is a special treat. So let's stop messing around and let's react, baby. Sean, share your screen.
All right, here we go.
Press play. So this is Final Fantasy XVI releasing June 22nd of this year. And I think, from what I could tell, it's only launching on PS5.
I believe
It's
so.
not a simultaneous PC release. It's like a timed exclusive, which I didn't know how big of a deal it was. But after seeing the video, I think it's kind of a big deal. So we're just getting the intro here, talking about what they're going to do in the video and the new systems. I think the biggest thing that they're going to get into right away is the fact that this is the first time they focused on an action RPG. They say that specifically. This is our first true action RPG, where many of the games had combat elements. And a lot of the video is about, I guess, how to cater to either side. People who aren't good at action games, what they can do versus people who aren't good at RPGs and want to focus on action. They can auto level up and stuff like that. So we're getting a look at our protagonist here. Huck, what are you thinking right now? This is your jam.
Yeah, the first thought was it looks very polished. I don't know. For some reason, I had this idea that the Final Fantasy 16 looked very bland and not very much going on in the environments. And they kind of like, when I first saw this, I was like, okay, it is kind of bland. But my first reaction was the characters look really good. The lip syncing looked really good. And then it gets into this kind of forest environment and this other swampy environment. I was like, okay, these environments don't look, bland at all. They have a lot going on in them.
Absolutely.
They look really good.
When it went to the forest and showed those bugs the first time, I was 100% in.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's going to be the theme through the whole video. It is an effects
extravaganza.
effects constantly.
Yes.
I love effects. So case in point right here, we'll talk about what these icon battles later in the video, but I mean, the effects look amazing. And it's almost to the point when I watch this video that I don't even know what's going on in combat. I'm just like, it's just a bunch of effects. So I hope systems work.
That's definitely a concern of mine.
But it's just like a bunch of effects. But as long as I know what I'm doing, which I think I will, Forspoken was kind of like that too, where it was like a lot of effects, but I knew what was going on. I was super impressed. Sean, what about you?
Well, I'm not a Final Fantasy guy, but action RPG right away, I was like, oh, okay, this could be, that's kind of piquing my interest right off the bat. And I did actually really like the look of the environments. When we get into some of the giant boss fights later, I'm not as crazy about that stuff. I'm not sure why. Like, there's something about like how insanely big those battles and chaotic those battles seem. It kind of turned me off a little bit, but I'm at right now, I would say this is probably the best chance for me to buy a Final Fantasy game in a long time.
And I think they're banking on that, right? They're clearly like kind of playing two sides, as I mentioned, with RPG and action. And it's not a real party system. You're really controlling one character with some curated action moments, which we'll get into. And it feels like the first time that I can remember where Final Fantasy has gone like truly mainstream. I think trying to tap into those like AAA third person action games and bridge a gap between Final Fantasy and that. So now we're seeing the idea that, well, the hero is Clive Rossfield, and the story spans, I think, his 20s, 30s, and 40s. And
I think it was like teens, 20s, and 30s.
Okay. Which I think is a really unique concept. Maybe not unique, but cool. And I like the idea of following this character through a long period of time and accentuating the story. And now we're really seeing like a lot of the, I would say, toned when he's younger, toned down effects combat, and it still looks really good.
Yeah. The other thing about the combat is there is a lot of like post-process, motion blur, a lot of camera work. Like the camera work is insane how, like zooming in, getting right in people's faces. There's a part coming up with, I wrote it down. What was it called? Anyways, it was one of like the bigger kind of like night battles he's in. And there's like this very visual
time event with the, with the one of the knights.
Right. Yeah. What did
that looked really cool.
Yeah. And just like, Midnight Raven, I found it.
Yeah.
Just the visual of the guy, like how they frame the enemy during that QuickTime event is just so polished. It's really incredible. And right now we're looking at the map, and even this map looks super polished, and like it's not too dense, but it is really visually appealing. And like all these places they're traveling to now look very interesting. They're not, I mean,
this one looks amazing. We're seeing this huge mountain, and we've always said this one leans a bit more into like classic fantasy and medieval fantasy stuff. And I gotta say, it is working for me.
Yeah.
The visual pacing, variety, camera, landscapes.
They're showing some mounts here, like riding on the Chocobo or whatever this is.
Yeah, and that looks really great as well. I don't know. I was excited for this game, I would say, but watching this video, I got really pumped for it. Like, might be. It's close between this and Tears of the Kingdom, even Jedi Survivor. Like the next month, 3 months, pardon me, is like there's a major release every one of those months. And now, like,
this comes out June, is that right?
June 22nd. Yeah.
So that's like, I think Diablo 4 also comes out in June, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of big games coming out real soon.
Yeah. So now we're, I don't know if this is exactly where we're at in the video, but it's showing a lot of more advanced combat, and it starts to get into the timing windows and how you can change settings and gear to experiment. It seems like almost accessibility stuff where depending on how good you are at action games versus RPGs, you basically tweak equipment.
I don't think we're there yet in the video, but
not quite there. Okay. I thought like the circle targeting was part of it, but maybe not.
I think this is just showing off all the different, action combat kind of things you could do. And it's starting to show off, like in the top left corner, there seems to be an L2 button to kind of swap your Esper or whatever they call your elemental thing.
I think and then that icons.
What's that?
Like I know in the past they're usually like summons or whatever, but I think talk about it as these icon battles, EIKON, I think.
Yeah.
When you see the menu. Yeah. And I don't know, I think that's what they're calling them in this. But I guess what you're saying, this little montage of combat, the variety of enemies is insane. Like there's so many different enemies. Which is not uncommon for Final Fantasy, but they all look really cool. The different spells, variety of combat is ridiculous.
Yeah, I was gonna say with regards to like obviously, they're showing off like the magic system, the spells, the effects, all the stuff you guys have been talking about, and I think that's been a big part of Final Fantasy. But usually, it's like turn-based or like partially turn-based or something. Like I'm curious, having these giant kind of cut scenes and all this stuff going on. But it's an action RPG. Like, is that going to be annoying? Like, I don't know. It feels like it kind of like disrupts the flow of combat a bit if there's so much stuff going on all the time.
Well, it might be annoying for like hardcore action RPG people, but I think this game is going to be, trying to bridge that gap between, the people are going to be pissed off that there's no turn-based elements
Yeah, I mean,
and action RPG people.
Well, that's
So
kind of what they're getting into now. Right now, they're addressing people who don't like RPGs, and they have the skill tree, and they're saying, well, if you don't want to pick specific skills to level up, you can like auto pick leveling, and the game will do it for you. Which, I mean, it doesn't look that complicated. It seemed like a really weird thing to point out in the video.
yeah,
But then they go to the few, like, in terms of people who like turn-based stuff, it's definitely not, different. That your companions are AI driven, but they have stuff similar action RPGs have had, where you can pause the action and like basically slow down time and make a strategic decision. They're kind of showing some of that stuff.
Did they
now
say that? I thought this was the ring thing you were talking about, the accessibility options. I don't think it ever pauses the game like you're saying to make strategic decisions.
Yeah, that's what that R1 does. You can hold it for a period of time, and then you can like basically slow down time so it's easier to dodge.
Yeah, but I don't think you're making any strategic. When I say strategic, I'm thinking kind of like higher level strategy
or something.
Yeah, like you're not telling your AI characters to do anything. This is literally just opening the timing windows for dodging and action stuff to be longer. That's how I read it.
Yeah, I guess I imagine one day I guess I'm picturing you will tell your companion like basic strategy elements, like the Final Fantasy 11. No, Final Fantasy 13 combat system was kind of like that. And I'm picturing something like Mass Effect, the wheel and making small decisions. But I agree. What they showed is way more like making combat easier for those that want it. Mm-hmm. And they're going over some more of the accessibility stuff and story focused versus action focused. I guess the main takeaway for me with this is they are really trying to cast a wide net with who will play this game. And there's a pretty big install base with PS5. And this is like, I'm not saying Final Fantasy isn't mainstream, but this feels like the most mainstream it's ever going to be.
They definitely pointed out that story-wise, you don't need to have played any other games. Like, this is kind of starting from scratch for this story. So,
which anyone who plays Final Fantasy, that's the case with almost every Final Fantasy. So it's like that again is like, okay, we're trying to pull in as many people as possible, which makes sense. It's a very expensive game, and they're trying to sell as many copies as possible. Oh, here's the Midnight Raven fight Buck was talking about, which looks really good. The lighting in this area is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think this is where they start showing off the companions helping you in fights, whereas before, I don't think they had any of that stuff in there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and this is leading into your dog. Is it Torgan or something like that? But here we're also seeing a stagger system. So I was definitely thinking Final Fantasy VII Remake had a stagger system. I assume they were able to reuse a lot of systems from some of the combat there, but focus it on one character rather than many. So I feel like they've been experimenting with real-time action combat and leaning towards action for a while now. And I think this might be the culmination of all that work.
I think, isn't it also somebody from the Devil May Cry series is involved now or something?
I didn't know that, but it makes sense. Some DMC vibes, especially with the scoring. We're seeing some of the stars based on combinations and what you do. I actually really like how some of that stuff plays out, and the general hit points and feedback looks great. And I think they said Torgal is the dog, which is, I don't give it. I tend to not care about stuff like that, but I think Torgal's pretty sweet.
I must say,
but
also,
can you
like,
pet the dog.
Oh, I'm sure you can. Probably the first thing they put in. But I must say, when they were doing the battles, it seemed like every enemy, now I don't know if that was just for this demo, but seemed to have an absolute ton of hit points. And you had to hit everything a lot. So I don't know if that's because they're only showing harder, almost like mini boss style characters that you're fighting, or if these are just regular, minions walking around. But it seemed like, it wasn't like I'm going to do a big combo and then you're dead. It seemed like you had to do a couple combos in
Yeah.
order to have a chance to drain their health. So it was a little like, usually in action RPG, there's a lot of like just fodder enemies, and this didn't seem to show off much of that.
Could be. Yeah, that's I didn't really think about that, but we're seeing some menu systems now. What happens when you're in a town talking to merchants? And in general, I know you said this about the map. I think the polish level of the menu systems, quests, like showing when you get a quest, all that stuff looked amazing. I thought it was a little weird that they went this far out of their way to highlight training options for a game. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
This was the one, like, right? Well, I guess I should care about this. It seemed like a weird thing to put in here. But I think this hub world, and I know we like this in gameplay demos, but this feels kind of like what you love, Huck. Like just talking about the gameplay, showing it,
Yeah.
and cutting
You mean
to
like
the
this
next
style of
this is what
presentation?
you're saying you love this stuff.
I do. I love how they don't just like, it's not just like one long thing walking point A to point B. They're jumping around. They're explaining all the high points quickly. And they're doing it in a fluid way. They're making seamless cuts to make sure they don't waste our time. Like, even though the running time of this is, 25, 26 minutes, I feel like I'm constantly being bombarded with new things to look at, and I'm never getting bored just sitting around watching them punch the same enemy in the face for 10 minutes long. Right. So I don't know. There was a lot of stuff they talked about in this video. And like, they haven't even got to, the big boss type fights that they're even, saying this is the best part of the game kind of thing. So, I mean, there's just so much here. And I think the first time I watched it, I was like a little hesitant just because of my, my built-in Final Fantasy love. I kind of want this turn-based stuff. But, I love Final Fantasy VII Remake, and that's pretty much an action game. There's not too much.
I love this. I like just this enemy presentation with this eyeball enemy. Like, I don't know what that was, but I loved it.
Yeah, it looked almost like a hunt quest or something like that.
Oh, this is so good too.
Yeah.
Little 16-bit interludes.
Yeah.
And it looks like some kind of mini game with leveling up and like Final Fantasy 3 through 6 kind of graphics. This stuff looks really cool. I don't really know what it is, but presentation.
Yes, some of this stuff, I'm like, okay, you're going too deep for me. Like,
fuck you, dude.
I don't need to know this stuff, but
how could you not like that 16-bit thing? That's pretty.
That's kind of cool. But like you said, like, I don't really understand what it is. Like, what are you showing me? But I guess one question I had too, like looking at the map and stuff, like I thought maybe there's a bit of Elden Ring influence here, but like, totally. Is it open world though? Like, it doesn't, like, it seems like there's certain worlds or levels and you can jump to those, but you don't really navigate between them, right? Like, it's not like an interconnected world type situation.
Yeah. Before we talk,
like
we have a creature fight right now. This like weird tentacle plant. This is the portion of the video where it features some crazy enemies, including like a kind of pangolin looking reptile. And I was loving the models and designs for every one of these, but I'm glad Sean brought that up. I totally agree. Even when they showed the map the first time and we were talking about how good the map looks, it's tough to understand the scale of the map. And I would say I agree. That's the one thing that's a little unclear to me based on this video. Like, how many areas are there?
And here's the camera moment I was talking about.
So yeah, that is the one thing I'm like, not that I care. I actually hope it's not that open world. I like smaller open hubs rather than one big open world. So I don't think it'll affect me either way.
I had the impression it was not open world, and you were kind of unlocking little areas that you could just travel between. And I personally like that. I find it, kind of interesting to explore these worlds, but then you just end up fast traveling all over the place anyways. So, why not just use the map the whole time?
And these effects look so good at this part. Like that one kind of Rainbow Radiant Effect looked incredible.
Yeah. Is this the first big game that's come out that is like they're not even talking about PS4?
I don't know. Like, well, Demon Souls was PS5 only. Returnal was PS5 only.
Okay, true. Yeah.
I think isn't Jedi Survivor only? I mean, it's not PS exclusive, but I think it's only on current gen systems.
Yeah,
the next gen. Yeah,
there's been some others too.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay. I mean, just like the effects that are going on in this, I don't think it would be possible.
Yeah.
There's just like so much going on.
It did make me think in the one Midnight Raven fight, there was a few like the cutscenes where you're not in control. I was getting flashbacks to Final Fantasy VII, and when you do a summon and have to watch the whole thing, like, I'm a little worried if the combat's a little too cinematic. But that was the only time I got that vibe. Other than that, it seems like you're doing stuff while these things are happening. So,
and I mean,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I actually feel the combat feels like very frantic. It could be just because I have no idea how you actually control these characters, but maybe you might like a break in the action
possibly
from time to time.
Look, we're force feeding this hard. Yeah, we welcome the breaks from combat. Full Zelda Nintendo fan here. I think it's a good thing that we take.
I do. I agree.
They just said the shining point of this game, and clearly the most divisive among us, is the icon battles. And in the previous clip, we could see the word icon. I think it was Ifrit before you command Ifrit, like icon of fire or something like that.
Yeah.
And to me, this was the best part of the whole thing. And I'll tell you what I took away from it as we're watching this. To me, it seemed like every one of these fights is almost a different gameplay genre, similar to how Nier Automata, the intro of Nier Automata, it's like switching between 2D shooter, 3D shooter, like it's messing with game genre. Mm-hmm. This felt like an attempt to do something like that, where some of these icon battles look like almost more of a fighting game, and others looked like Panzer Dragoon. Others looked like almost a speed run action game. So I think this is like a great way to add pacing and variety of gameplay. I don't know if they'll succeed on it, but if they can pull it off where each one of these battles is like almost a tribute to a different genre of game, I'm like, this is an amazing idea.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, wait till you see the camera on some of these. It looks just like a fighting game. Clearly, when you're the Phoenix, you're doing lock-on stuff exactly like Star Fox or Panzer Dragoon. So, I mean, I'm just my sensors are going off at just like the gameplay possibilities. Like this one, right? Like I'm like, I would love to play this. Like basically a super polished, brand new Panzer Dragoon is what we're watching, and it looks awesome. Now, there will be some. Obviously, we'll find out how on rails it is versus like, do you actually feel like you're doing anything? Or at the end of Forspoken, there was some like curated boss fights where they were pretty rough, but I don't think they'd let that happen with Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the question too. Like when you have boss fights that are every boss fight is kind of totally different. You know, do you feel like unprepared? Like, you've been doing a certain type of combat throughout the game, and then you get to this boss fight and it's totally different? Or like, is there a problem there? Like just polishing that? Like if that's the only type of, only area of the game where you have that type of gameplay, like how much attention are you putting on that?
So that previous one was the one that looked like a fighting game. This is the one that looks like almost a speed runner.
Yeah.
But I think what's going to happen is you'll do multiple battles with the same gameplay type. So I don't think it's going to be like learn it once and then throw it away. Like there'll be a few to learn, and you'll have different fights with those.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
but I am fucking in. This game looks amazing.
They look really, really polished, and I'm wondering if these icon battles are what you need to do to like essentially get them on your team. kind of
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
and then they join you afterwards if you win.
Yep.
But yeah, this is really impressive.
And they kind of show a conclusion, if I remember, for this one, where it's like doing 1,000,000 damage in this epic camera moment. Like it's pretty rad. I mean, as far as spectacle goes, this might be the most spectacle-y game I've ever seen. The closest thing I can think of to this would have been God of War 3 when that got shown the first time in some of those fights. Those are the vibes I'm getting.
Yeah, it's crazy how much is going on, how many enemies there are, enemy types. Like there's so much content. It's kind of mind blowing that there's so much.
All right. Well, we are in. I kind of am a little disappointed that I'm not going to be able to play it on PC on this new ultra wide monitor, but actually, I think PS5 works with ultra wide. I can just plug it into the monitor.
There you go.
There you go.
Shit. All right. Life is good. That game looks amazing. And I'm pumped. Huck, you got to be even more excited than I.
Well, you know what? I definitely am. I don't know, actually. You know, like I'm looking at this game and it's giving me all the vibes of like when I used to see Final Fantasies back in the day for the first time and been like, this story is going to be amazing. And like, you know, I can't wait to play. And then I'm kind of sad because I'm like, I probably have no time to play this game when I really want to like sit down and spend a lot of time with it. And like all the stuff they showed, all I'm thinking is this game's going to be an 80 to 100 hour epic game, and I'm never going to finish it, and I'm never going to see half this stuff.
I got the opposite.
Yeah.
I kind of got the vibe like it's might actually be short.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, because when you think of Final Fantasy games and sort of JRPGs and how long they are, I mean, I haven't really played that many of them, to be honest with you, but like they're long because there's a lot of dialogue. The battles go on for a long time. Grinding, yeah. So like, but when you switch to action RPG, I feel like that kind of speeds things up a bit. Like I don't know, like I could be wrong, but
especially if it's got limited open world exploration, because that's like Breath of the Wild is kind of an action RPG, but most of the time is spent going from place to place, not doing combat or dialogue. So I don't know. I'm in 100%, and it looks fantastic. All right, before moving on, anything else we need to say about that?
No.
Okay, June 22nd. The midnight on my birthday, I'll be playing it at the end of my birthday. So we get a nice birthday bookend.
What a bookend, totally.
Okay, before we get into what we played, touch on a couple of news stories. Number one, the final Tears of the Kingdom trailer launched this week, and I just watched it. I missed it when it came out, and I watched it before the show, and holy shit, did it look good. And for me, after playing the first one even more this week, again, polish, cinematic moments, camera stuff, like custom gameplay moments, like when he's falling through the lasers. There was the stuff on the rail cars where there was like the slowing down time combat element. It looked like they've added a lot to the game.
yeah, a lot of variety. And I just thought it was a really well put together trailer. Like I thought the music and the way it worked with the images was great. I don't know if that music is specifically, you know, like something from the score. Like it seemed like kind of like almost mashing up elements of Breath of the Wild score. But I liked it. I don't know. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Huck, are you buying Tears of the Kingdom, or what are you going to?
I don't know. I still am not sure yet. I mean, I do like Breath of the Wild. I think this one looks better. I think there's a lot of interesting things. Like they showed one where there was like an enemy, almost like mobile encampment vehicle type thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then it looked like the way to get onto that thing is you have to create your own like crazy big vehicle and then kind of like crash into it or something. Like that's what it looked like was going to happen. So all that kind of like thinking out of the box, problem solving gameplay, I got to be honest, I don't really like. I'm like, I don't want to experiment. That kind of stuff gives me stress because now I'm like, I got to like find these elements and then construct something that could be wrong. And if it is wrong, now I got to go find new stuff to build something else. And that kind of stuff stresses me out to no end. So it's just like crafting systems. I don't want to find 10 apples and then cook something and have it fail and then need to go find another 10 apples. Like, I hate that shit. So I'm worried that there's going to be a lot of puzzles like that, like with the crafting materials. And, in the one we critiqued, every vehicle that was made in that was kind of like all the stuff was right there for you. And I have a feeling that's not how the regular game is going to be. I have a feeling you're going to have to like collect things, bring them to a specific spot, assemble, go off, search for some other part, bring it back and assemble. And that doesn't sound that fun to me. So I could just be jumping to conclusions.
I disagree. Even the first game is pretty good at like at least giving you a set of things, or like when you need stuff, they're typically close by. It might not be the ideal or perfect scenario, but there's something to be able to get through a situation.
Yeah, I feel like the main sort of like mainline quest stuff you have to do will be straightforward. Maybe to find like hidden secrets and stuff, you'll have to experiment more, but I don't know if it will be that challenging or that risk reward type thing.
That's true. They are good at doing that. I'll give them that. But and also I'm not going to be completing like 100%ing this thing anyway. So and then those are the quests that they would be more for the 100% type people.
Yeah, but I do agree that the vehicle stuff still looks like the least compelling to me. The new thing that is ultra compelling to me is lasers. I forgot the lasers in Breath of the Wild in the shrines, like where you get the spirit orb, like those lasers shatter. Fucking love lasers. And there's even more green lasers in this one. And there was the enemy hideout or tree house, and he shot something, and then all these lasers went bonkers and was killing enemies. I'm like, yes, lasers, I'm ready. So I'm more pumped. And when I said I wasn't going to play anymore Breath of the Wild, I actually have been. I probably put in I just keep doing more stuff, side quests, shrines, Koroks. So
don't burn yourself out, man.
The 100% is still, it might happen.
Nice.
You're asking for trouble.
I love trouble. All right. Last, was there one other news story? Oh, Suicide Squad killed a Justice League, delayed until 2024. Probably spurred on by our reaction video, which absolutely decimated, dissected how bad the co-op gameplay must be. And, well, Sean, again, this is your baby. You're the Batman. Maybe the complaints, there was not enough detective stuff for the...
It's possible. Yeah, I mean, the rumors were already swirling, so this is now just confirming it. But I guess I was surprised that it was a full year delay. That's pretty huge. So, I mean, to be kind of showing off all the stuff they were showing off in this very confident kind of manner, and then obviously, like, we weren't the only ones that had criticism of it. But then to be like, oh, yeah, okay, people don't like this, we're taking another year. Like, that's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And should we touch on the rumor of the PlayStation Portable? That there's going to be a new PlayStation Portable system that apparently pairs with PS5. Huck, you're the Vita hero. You love the Vita. Are you excited about this?
Yeah, I felt like we talked about this, or was this just offline beforehand? I can't remember.
I think it was offline.
Okay. I'm not
Sean,
really that.
Sean's looking like, no, it wasn't. We talked about it on the show already.
No, we were going to, but I think the last show, what did we do last show? I don't know. We didn't need it. We didn't have time to get to it, so we definitely didn't talk about it.
Well, I didn't read the actual like full article, but from our discussion and from kind of seeing odds and ends here and there, it does sound like it's basically just like a remote connect to your PS5, which doesn't totally sound great to me. So I'm not really bought in at this point in time. I'd have to see more details, and I'm not really gonna, go all in on just these random rumors and stuff. So
Could they do a version that's almost a PC that like runs Steam, but also PS5?
Well, you can. I mean,
I've heard of other third party. I think Asus maybe is doing their version of a Steam Deck that runs Steam. Like, what if they set it up that it's almost just like a portable PC, like a Steam Deck, but also integrates with PS5 stuff?
there is an app for Steam Deck that can do PS5 remote play and PS4 remote play, I assume. And they have an Android app for it already. So it's kind of weird. Like, and you can do it from a Windows PC. So, I mean, to just give people a device for remote play only, like it's kind of already available. I don't get it. It's a little weird. But
yeah, unless
it
it's
is a
more about
rumor,
the handheld. But I mean, maybe they want something more powered than a Steam Deck or something like that, more powerful.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, I'm obviously going to buy it, but I need more details before I can weigh in. All right, let's get into what we played. Sean, we got to kick it to you. There was a major event in here this week.
Yeah, it was a good week. It was a good week. Well, so I mean, you picked up PSVR 2 a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago, I guess now. And it's funny because there was a news story like a week or two ago about how like the initial sales were not great, and it's like, oh, is PSVR 2 already in trouble? And I was kind of like, yeah, okay, good. I don't have to worry about this PSVR 2 for a while. Like I'm probably not picking one up. And then out of nowhere, I managed to stumble on a Amazon warehouse deal for the PSVR 2. Used, but basically brand new, and everything's still in the package, and like $300 off or something.
Ridiculous. With the download code still working.
Yeah, for Horizon. So, I mean, I couldn't pass that up. So I am now a proud owner of a PSVR 2.
I was so jealous of you when you got that deal.
But like, I didn't really have that much time to play. Like, we did play a little bit at your place, Frank. That was probably more what I had a chance to sample, but I did put like an hour and a bit into Horizon Call of the Mountain, and I'm liking it. I feel like the reviews were kind of just like lukewarm on it, and certainly people were not framing it as a system seller, and it certainly doesn't seem like it's moving the needle much. But I was kind of impressed. I mean, I think maybe it's about expectations, because it's very climb heavy. A lot of climbing in the game. Like, that is the majority of the way you get around in the game. And so I think if you look at it like the Climb or the Climb 2, which I've enjoyed those games on the Quest, but you take that and then you add some combat, you add some story and the world of Horizon, and it's pretty cool. Like, I mean, I'm enjoying it quite a bit. So, and visually, it's one of the best looking VR games I've seen.
Yeah, I haven't played it enough, but I was impressed with the dodge. The dodge actually feels pretty good and doesn't make you sick. The combat is a little more engaging than most VR combat.
Yeah, for sure. There's like, I mean, I don't know if you'd call them boss fights, but like I got to like maybe the third or fourth sort of major encounter, and it was like, I think scrappers. I forget what the actual creature was you're fighting, but it's like you're fighting one and then they throw like two more at you, and it gets pretty chaotic and hectic, but it was fun. So yeah, nice. I like that game. I think it's maybe a little better than people are saying, but your mileage may vary. But yeah, overall, I'm impressed with the PSVR 2 as well. Like, I think the OLEDs look great, way brighter. I had been playing PSVR 1 stuff not like pretty recently, so I kind of had in my head what the visuals of that look like, and it is a huge improvement. The one thing I'm a little bit unsure about still, and we saw this at your place too, Frank, but just I find it hard to get, like, it's a more comfortable headset overall, but I find it hard to get it adjusted just right so that my eyesight is like perfect. Like I'm always playing with it because it goes blurry a little bit here and there, and
I guess I found with this one, for whatever reason, that happened less often than other VR headsets for me. Like it was, they
Maybe I
all
just need to
have it at
tighten it
some,
more. I don't
they
know.
all have it to some degree, but I found it less frequent on the PSVR. It still happens sometimes though. I've never found a VR set that doesn't happen if it moves a little bit.
Yeah.
Apple will figure it out. I guarantee it.
Well, yeah. So that's an interesting thing. So I was going to just touch on like we were saying, PSVR 2 sales apparently not great. Not a ton of games out there right now. There are some games that you get a free upgrade from the PSVR 1 version. Not enough, in my opinion.
Most of them are paid, and then some don't even have them at all. And they actually have new versions. You literally have to buy the new version. Don't even get me started on The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Tourist Edition and trying to figure out what thing I can buy from the store. It is the clusterfuck of online purchasing, like the worst one I've ever seen. It is ridiculous.
Yeah, so I think I know how to do it now. I can show you how, but like I found it through the app. You had to go like look at the one you own, go to view product, and then when you look at the tourist edition, there's like a $13 upgrade. But yeah, so like all that stuff is not great. Not a ton of stuff announced on the horizon right now in terms of like what somebody would be looking forward to this year for PSVR 2 stuff. It just feels like they're not really pushing it, which is weird.
Look, if they want to sell 2 million of these things in a couple weeks, just put out a release so you can use it on PC. It's the best VR headset. Like people will buy it for PC for sure.
Yeah, that would be something.
Already releasing games on Steam.
Possible.
They can release their own PSVR games on Steam.
I mean, they gotta announce Half-Life Alyx for this thing. Like, I don't know how that's not. I mean, I hope it's in the works, but yeah. Then with Apple also having a headset supposedly coming this year, that's going to be real interesting to see what happens.
I've been hearing that for a decade now with Apple.
Yeah. Well, it's been in the works, but like I've been hearing that there's definitely an announcement coming this year. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be I don't know if that's something that's going to compete with the gaming space or if that's going to be something else. I don't know, but
right. And so there's no confusion. I am buying the Apple VR headset when it comes out. I'm not buying it.
Of course.
All right, Huck, you playing anything right now?
I've been actually not too much, but the one thing I have been playing is Metroid Fusion, actually, for the Game Boy Advance. So I don't know, after last week's show, we started talking about the Nintendo Online thing, and I'm like, this is so stupid. Why would anyone pay for this? And then I ended up paying for it, and now I'm loving it. So
you thought it was more expensive than it actually was, right?
Yeah, I ended up paying only like whatever it was, $65 for the whole year or something.
Yeah,
like
not a bad deal.
Which seems really cheap actually in hindsight. It's like one AAA game. And you get
like lots of expansion passes. Like those new Mario Kart tracks are really good.
Yeah, so I haven't dabbled in any of the Mario Kart tracks yet, but I think the reason it came up is because I was talking about how my younger son wanted to play like action-y games, and I was like, oh, he'd probably really like Minish Cap. So I bought it and I let him play Minish Cap, and he's loving it. Got a little stuck, and I'm like, oh, I don't even know how to get out of this, but he's really liking it. He likes the action part, and so I fired up Metroid Fusion. I've been playing that, and then I was dabbling with like Wave Race 64, and man, that game is still so fun. It's unreal, and yeah, I just really like that. Like Wave Race 64. It's just the perfect water physics, and yeah, so I've been just dabbling, just playing around with like little games on there. They have this one sort of like weird thing, which I didn't know, but they have like these SP editions of games. I didn't really know what they were. I thought they were like special editions. So I was like firing, my one son fired up Super Metroid Special Edition, and then it just like loads you into a random spot with like everything unlocked. And I'm like, okay, this is not what I thought it was.
It's like a challenge. It's like curate challenge levels or entry points for the game. I know what they are. I've barely done them, but
yeah. So I originally, I also like Minor Point, but I like how you can sort the game list to your your preference, which is really nice. So, I move all those SP games down to the bottom, and all of the more obscure games I'm never going to try down to the bottom, and move the really good ones up to the top. And it's just nice for easily being able to find stuff and just find the games you're going to actually play. I don't have to like hunt through, the first 10 games that are in alphabetical order because everyone want to be listed first on the thing that are all shit. Now I just like order them however I want, and away I go. Loving it. Nintendo. I got the Scarlet Fever, boys.
I guess I'll go next because I still got the Scarlet Fever. I've been playing Breath of the Wild, like I said, and finally, I don't know, 33% of the way through Metroid Prime Remastered, which I willed into existence and have yet to play. So I'll be beating that. I wanted to have it done for tonight, but did not happen. And it is one of the best games ever made. And the music is so good. Oh my God, the music is amazing.
Oh yeah.
But it's a fantastic game and I'm really enjoying it. The only thing I hate is that Nintendo's own, first of all, I've talked about how obviously the A and B switch, even playing PlayStation VR last night with Sean, I was like hitting back instead of confirm because I've been on Switch and it completely fucked me up on PlayStation. And even within 2 games on Nintendo, one, Breath of the Wild, the map is on minus, and in Metroid Prime, it's on plus. So I'm hitting the wrong buttons all the time. Can we get some consistency in user experience, please?
Yeah.
Like, get real. That's the one thing you should be good at.
They got to be different, though. They got to be different.
Fucking heroes. So
I just have one other quick thing I'll mention. Tried a bit of Meet Your Maker. So this is on PlayStation Plus right now. Like whatever the lowest tier is, it's one of the free games for this month. But it is also on Steam, possibly another platform. I'm not sure. But it's kind of this cool idea where it's like these little sort of mazes that you have to work your way through and avoid traps, avoid enemies, grab something, and then find your way back out of the maze. But they're like fairly short, like at least from what I've seen so far. And it's kind of got this post-apocalyptic vibe to it. Like there's this whole story behind it, which kind of made no sense to me, but the vibe is cool. And so you're kind of there's this little robot that walks through the maze that tells you how to find the resource you're trying to get at the end of the maze. So you can kind of follow that thing to get where you're going. But, along the way, you got to watch out for traps and stuff. But then the other cool thing is you can build your own mazes. Now, I didn't get to the point where it actually unlocked the building section yet. And I was a little confused because I just thought it was going to be basically like a Mario Maker or something where it's like you just make as many of these things as you want, put them out there for people to try. But it seems to be more tied into like a base, like a resource harvesting type thing where it's like you build one of these things and then if other people try it and die, then you get resources from that or something. I wasn't totally clear on it, but in theory, that's a cool idea too. These little mazes that you can also make your own and people can kind of make them as difficult or as kind of weird as they want.
and this looks like it's the developers of Dead by Daylight. So,
oh, I didn't realize that, but that's cool.
And I've never tried Dead by Daylight. I feel like I should. It's really popular, but I don't know if I'm looking at it on Steam. The recent reviews are mostly negative, so I don't know if they released some DLC and people are pissed about it, but I cannot understand the popularity of this game. It's very strange to me.
You're talking Dead by Daylight specifically. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it obviously they did a lot of add-ons that had like well-known horror franchises and icons, which I think brought in a lot of horror fans, but there's so many of these asymmetrical horror games now that I don't know. I don't know if this still is at the top of that list.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me that seems to be the one that people gravitated to. But maybe it's good. I should try it sometime. Huck, anything for you, or is that it?
No, that's everything.
Sean, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, so turned out to be a short show. I don't think there's any major games coming out this week that I can think of. About 2 weeks away from Jedi Survivor. I want to play through Fallen Order again before that, but I don't know if there's going to be enough time.
I think Minecraft Legends comes out this week.
Oh, that's right.
You know, I'm not that interested in, but I'm sure there's some people who are.
Mm-hmm. So thanks for listening or watching on youtube.com/Game Junk. The Discord link is there if you want to join. Sean is Film Junk on Twitter. Andrew is My Angry Commute and Equilibrium Sis. And thanks for watching or listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.